Okay, guys, so we're here with Ben, my teammate, who went 6-0 with Madolche, lost on the feature match, and then ended 7-1 at the regional at RMC today, where they were giving out 3 cases, 5 boxes for everyone in top 8 on top of the already regional prizing, so pretty sweet. Let's get into it.
Sweet. All right, we'll start with the starters of the deck. So we'll do 3 Madolche. So this is basically your Stratus of the deck. This is a search for any Madolche monster. Crazy note, there's actually a world where I wasn't playing this card, but it was just too low on starters. But you just want to play as many 1-card starters in this deck as you can, so this was just super valid. Honestly, this normal summon is like kind of whack against the Flunder matchup, but we made it work today. I didn't play Flunder at all day, so it worked out pretty well in my favor. So 3 Angeli. She's basically the lone fire boss in the deck. Tribute to special any sort of Madolche from deck. Probably, yeah, actually I shouldn't say probably. Definitely the best starter of the whole entire deck. Just because it's live if you don't have any monsters in grave, or it's also live if you do have a hand trap in grave. So like, if you can manage to draw this with D-Shifter, it's just nuts. Pegasus. Pegasus is also very good. Again, like, just one of the best 1-card starters you can draw in the deck. So whole entire essential idea of this deck is you just want to draw one of your 1-card starters with some sort of defensive cards, and then you're gonna play the 2 hit cake. There was a world where I was thinking about playing more hand traps and then playing 3 of these just to make this card live more, but just too many clunky hands, and realistically, you only usually need one of these, and then usually the second one ends up being like a small world bridge a lot of the time in this deck. So, and then 2 Lotto. I actually low-key hate this card. It's terrible, but you need to play 2 in the deck because if you draw the 1, then you just can't search for anything, and then obviously it just searches for like all your crazy spells and traps in this deck. So
Yeah, that card's been terrible ever since I played the deck 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's literally the worst card to draw in the deck.
It was an original brick.
And then there's this card. So this is like a very interesting card. I actually hate it for like a really long time, and there are times you draw it and it's just like terrible. But this card is actually like low-key insane under Scythe, or like really simplified game states. It gets like round 3 I play against Traplage, and this card just put in like so much work. You just start getting into super simplified game states where this just battles everything, including like the defensive Golden Lords, and you start popping cards on their field because a lot of people don't read the other effect of this card where it battles after damage calculation. You can pop a card your opponent controls, not even a card that battles. So that effect actually is kind of insane under Scythe a lot of the time, where you get in simplified game states. And then pink, this card was just probably one of the best cards in my deck the whole entire day. I can't even count how many times I searched under Small World. Like 2 different times I got Scythe locked and just grabbed this and like set up a defensive board after I like cleared a lot of their board, and it was just, yeah, it was insane all day today every time I saw it.
I'd see the best card in the deck peeking at me.
Yeah. D-Shifter. Okay, so the crazy part about this card is in theory this is actually the best card of the deck, but wild enough, I didn't even resolve this card until round 6 today. The one time I resolved it on stream, game 1, and I actually like looped it for 2 turns, but he drew like Brave Engine plus Fog Blades, and I'm just like, I didn't, yeah, it was just nuts. Like there's just nothing I could do about it. But like, yeah, every time I resolved this card today, it was just absolutely insane. If you don't play this card in deck, you're just crazy. Like there's just too many times. It came up like twice today, I think, but like too many times where like you set like just such a simplified game state again, where you set this up and you loop it for like 3 turns of Glass Souffle, and that's just broken.
Yeah, it's probably the only hand trap that's like a literal win condition.
Right, exactly. And then 3 Nibs, 3 Ashes, and then 3 Imperms. This was actually like kind of a later edition of the deck. I was playing Gammas before because obviously you don't want your hand traps to hit the grave most of the time. But the thing with Ashes, like you just need to play this for the Brave matchup. It just comes up like way too much. It's a really good bridge for Small World in the deck, and I don't know, like the biggest thing is, and a lot of Madolche players have like this fear of like, oh, if I like discard Ash Blossom, I can't do combo. But literally, I can only think of like one hand I had all day where I didn't have a way to get to combo, even with a hand trap in grave. So, and then not only this, but like this hand trap particularly, you can just recycle back to hand Glass Souffle, similarly like Dimension Shifter. So there was one round, like in round 5, I think it was, against PK Brave, where I literally looped this like back to my hand 3 turns in a row. And he just literally, again, simplified game states, he just couldn't do anything. Nib was also crazy today too. Like multiple times I would keep Nib in the deck going first, and they don't play around Nib because they just assume you're siding it out if you're going first. And you just set up a board with like the Glass Souffle, and they don't realize that Glass Souffle can actually protect yourself from your own monster effects. So you can like stick this on field and nib, and then still keep her on the field for follow up. So it's pretty wild. So yeah, 12 hand traps, and then we'll go to the spells. 3 prosperity. I've seen people play X-Trap in this deck. I like that's just objectively wrong in my opinion. There's just too many like tech cards that aren't Madolche X-Ray cards that you need to be able to play in certain situations that just come up. And digging for 6 in this deck is like the way how you kind of get away with playing cards like Ash Blossom, so you can see your starters to extend your plays. So yeah, this card's just insane. And then Small World. I'm pretty sure like 90% of the people I played today like didn't understand how this card works still somehow, but the bridges in this deck are just like free. Like you can basically like, let's say like you have a D shifter in grave and you have Madolche with this in hand. Like literally there's just so many free bridges to get a starter you need in hand. Or you could just grab a Pancratops and just like start going to town on your board. Like this card is wild. Or even there were multiple times where I'd have like an extra Madolche monster in hand, and I've done my full combo and still have this, and I can use this like search a D shifter or an Ash Blossom, and then like clear my grave to dump the D shifter or use Ash on their turn. This is an extra 4-mana option. Call by, just generically good. They're just hands we just lose to Ash Pass, so this is always nice to have. Or like this plus a hand trap is really good against like DP Scythe decks. And then 1 Chateau and then 1 Salon. So like, there are a lot of lists that play 3 Salons. And like, in theory, that seems good because you're like, oh, if they stop your first normal, you can just normal again. But like, the problem with it is you draw multiples as a brick, and it's only really good in that theory if you draw 2 starters and this, and like 3 card combos is just objectively bad. And that's also why we cut Ticket, because Ticket just basically makes your good hands already like better, and I just want to play the least amount of breaks as I possibly can in this deck. So really, we only play these so we exclusively search them off combos, and we can see starters plus hand traps. So, and then for the trap lineup, 2 Promenade. This is definitely the best card in the deck. This card's nuts. You just recycle it like every turn, and what it pairs really good with, we put in the main Ghost match. This was also last minute. I've been playing Droplet instead of this card in the main for like a very long time, and I felt like for this regional, I needed a card that was gonna be like very high impact with just like so many of the Brave decks going on. And in practice, like this card by itself is just terrible against Brave decks because they're just gonna bounce it with the Draco back, and then they just combo off. But if you're drawing with this, and they're only out to this card is through the Draco back, you can just negate it with Promenade and they just lose. Like it's just so free a lot of the time. So that's it for the main 41 cards. Literally last minute couldn't decide what to cut for 40, but
is there anything you change now after the tournament?
I think the only thing I might change, maybe the Gozens. It depends. Like I think the Gozens need a little bit more testing. This might have gone to the side, to be honest, or just cut in general to put it to 40. Like anything I could put to 40, I'd probably change, but other than that, I was pretty happy with everything. Like the Ash was a great addition as well. Like I'd recommend anyone that plays this deck should try Ash. Like you'll appreciate yourself for doing it. So yeah. So we just do 2 Glass Souffles. This is probably like the most like red card in my deck the whole entire day because I think literally 3 different times that would trigger the shuffle effect in either player's grave, and they don't realize it's either player's grave. Like they'll read the card multiple times and they realize like, oh, it's my graveyard too. Like if you go back to watch the feature match against Xenu, shout out to him, but he literally used a Torn Scales effect and discarded a PK name and then sent it on from his deck, and I'm like, all right, cool, Glass Souffle effect, just put them both back in deck, and he just like immediately skipped. Like this card put in a lot of work today. Or a lot of times too, like they'll just dump the Water Enchantress, and then you can just shuffle it back to the deck before they have a chance to get into their engine. Tierra, I mean everyone knows this card's just wild. Like non-target removal is just insane. All mode, I'm not gonna lie, like this literally only came up if I was like pushing for 8k damage, but we literally never did like, I like to call it the bad combo, where literally you just play in the nib in every single hand trap in the entire game and you go full combo with this. Like literally this was just kind of in here to either add more materials to Zeus or we just push for 8k damage. And then as far as the other XCs go, we had Baguska. This didn't come up today, but in testing there's hands where like you'll petting and then they negate the petting and you only have like a Lotto or something other bad level 4 in hand, so you can just normal that and then make this install for a turn or 2. You can also use this under Ghost and Goods Earth, so that's pretty cool. I would probably cut that in the future with something else. Don't know what it would be though. Gyro Charger, because he's extra Zeus material over all the mode, and then Zeus himself. This came up one time today, but the one time it came up, I actually got 6 materials on this, and it was wild. It was super wild. And then we play, let's see, for Lynx, Sistar, it's pretty self-explanatory. This card's pretty solid in this deck. It's very normal for people to out. Phoenix, Unicorn, Axis Code Talker. This actually came up in my feature match, oddly enough. Usually you don't go in this because you're locked into Madolche a lot of time because of petting, but there are situations in really simplified game states where you have enough card advantage where you can like just hard make this and start clearing their board. So it's pretty solid. And then we play the 2 targets for Dogmatica because we have the space. This should be a Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. I would highly recommend you play that. I just couldn't get my hands on before I tournament. So
What card was that?
Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. So essentially what he does, if he's in your graveyard, you can banish him to destroy a face-up monster your opponent controls, which is nice because the thing is again, you want to clear monsters out of your graveyard so you can resolve effects like Petting Cess. It also allows you a lot more control over what you pop, because a lot of times you'll send this Entis, and like your only like valid pop is to pop something like Maximus or something, which is just not that good. And you also now have like a dud card in the graveyard. And also if you do banish Skull Knight, you can also just shuffle back with Omega, which is pretty cool. But we played the Gammas inside, so that also comes up as well for him. So side deck, Drolls. We sided in this like a few times today. To be honest, I actually kind of wish it was a Token Collector, looking back on it. We already play like I feel like D-Shifter accomplishes the same thing this card does a lot of the time. So having like a Token Collector when I can go, like a lot of times post side I would have like 15 to 18 hand traps. So like Token Collector plus another hand trap is like a really solid situation to be in. So.
Yeah, and you stress like just how good the adventure package is sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So yeah. And then Gammas, this is probably like the best card in the side deck because this card's like already super high impact if you draw with another hand trap, which we usually do because again, post side going second we have like 15 to 18 hand traps. But also this card doesn't hit graveyard, which is just like nuts. So if you like draw this with it like if you draw this way like imperm, like instinctually you would think it's just like bad. But any deck that like just doesn't play Brave package, it's like actually kind of free against because you just keep your graveyard empty for your starters, so you can extend the next turn. 3 twins and a feather duster, and then red reboot. I really only sided these in for 1 match all day today against Trapwitch, and it was actually insane. I drew feather duster game 3, and it was just wild. But other than that, it didn't really come up. Red reboot's just free in this deck because you just don't care if they set another card because realistically you're OTKing them, and if for some reason you don't OTK them, you just shuffle all 4 of their back row back, so they just lose. And in this card, I did not resolve all day today until the last game of the last round. Just did not see it, but DDG. Like the one game it resolved, it was just nuts. As weird as it seems, a lot of times when I went first, I side out D-shifters for these. Because effectively this does a lot of the same things you want D-shifter to do. But it's live after your first turn essentially. So that's why I like it. And also it's also chainable to any sort of background removal they may have. So
All right, nice. Well, congrats on your top. Is there any shoutouts you'd like to give?
yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Team RMC, obviously. Shout out to those guys especially. As far as like a few like individual names in that group, Smallen for hosting the event. He's wild. This gives out insane amount of prizing. You guys probably see like his events are just absolutely insane. The charity events, regionals now, like, and I mean I've been good friends with those for a while now, and I saw him like just kind of like grind through COVID with all this stuff. You know, all the shutdowns and stuff with the shop, and he's just insane. Shout out to Gabe Perez. He's probably the person I play test against most, and he is like very good about giving a lot of insightful advice. He has a lot of really good experience. Who also topped the event.
Wait, not only that, he made Penn's deck. He's in Penn's deck profile for Virtual World.
True.
So he's getting all the love.
Yeah.
Watch out for him at this YCS.
Yeah, dude, his theory is just insane on decks. And then like kind of obscure shout out, but also on Team RMC, Chris LeBlanc. When I first picked up this deck like years and years ago, I actually was motivated to pick up the deck because Chris topped the event at the YCS. And that was like the biggest reason I picked up the deck, and we play test pretty regularly now too, even since then. So it's kind of cool. It comes full circle with that. Outside of RMC, like shout out to like the whole entire like locals community I play with. Big shout outs to anyone who plays in Lewiston, Idaho, a small little town. I've gone to their locals a few times, playtested with a lot of those guys on Remote Duel. My brother goes to locals out there, and they're a really cool group of guys. They appreciate a lot of the advice I'm able to give them and stuff, just because I play with a lot of like bigger names and stuff as far as testing and stuff goes. So those guys are pretty sweet. So other than that, that's pretty much it.
All right, awesome. Well, congrats. Thanks for the profile. Have a good one.